The sun was slipping low behind the hills when Jacob Renner turned his truck off the gravel road and onto the dirt track that led to the Dalton Ranch. He was a man of few words, his life stitched together by early mornings, hard work, and the rhythm of hooves on dry soil. Today was supposed to be simple, just another deal, another horse. But fate has a strange sense of humor. It can hide a storm behind the calmest horizon. The barn loomed ahead, old but sturdy, the kind of place that smelled of hay, leather, and history. Jacob parked, stepped out, and adjusted his head against the glare. He'd come to buy a mare. The owner, Bill Dalton, had promised was the best in the county, but something felt off. The yard was quiet, too quiet. No dogs barking, no cattle lowing, just the dry whisper of wind. "Bill," he called out, his voice echoing against the wood. No answer. Jacob pushed the barn door open. It groaned like it hadn't been moved in days. The interior was dim, dust motes drifting like ghosts through the sunlight that leaked from cracks in the roof. He took a few steps inside, boots crunching over straw, eyes adjusting to the dark. Stalls lined the walls, some empty, others holding restless shapes that shifted when he passed. Horses, nervous ones. "Easy there," he murmured, patting one's flank. The animal's skin twitched under his hand. Its eyes rolled white, and it snorted, ears flicking toward the back of the barn, where the light didn't reach. Something was back there, something that made the horses anxious. Jacob hesitated. He'd been around animals all his life. He knew when they sensed trouble. Still, curiosity was a hard habit to break. He walked deeper, passing the last stall, until he reached the narrow aisle that led to the tack room. The air changed, cooler, heavier. He smelled something faint, metallic. He frowned. Not blood exactly, but rust, maybe, or old iron. He pushed the tack room door open. The light switch clicked, but the bulb flickered weakly, throwing long shadows over the walls. Saddles hung in neat rows, ropes coiled on hooks, a workbench scattered with tools. Everything looked normal, until he noticed the far corner, a shape low to the ground, unmoving. He froze. "Hello," he said quietly. The shape stirred. A faint sound, a cough, then a whisper. A voice, a woman's voice. Jacob's chest tightened. He stepped closer, slow, cautious, like approaching a wounded animal. As his eyes adjusted, he saw her, a young woman sitting on the floor, her back against the wall, her wrists bound by a length of chain that trailed to a ring bolted into the timber. Her face was pale beneath streaks of dirt, her eyes wide and glassy with fear. "Ma'am," Jacob said, voice low. "You hurt?" She flinched away. "Please, don't let him come back." Jacob dropped to one knee. "I'm not him," he said. "I'm here to buy a horse." "Who did this to you?" She didn't answer, just shook her head, eyes darting toward the door. "He'll be back." He said, "Nobody comes here anymore." Jacob's pulse hammered in his ears. The silence outside now felt heavier, like the whole ranch was holding its breath. He looked at the chain, solid iron, padlock tight. He tugged at it, testing the give. None. Whoever put it there had meant for it to stay. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Anna," she whispered. "All right, Anna. We're getting you out of here." He stood, scanning the room. A pair of bolt cutters hung from a nail near the door. He grabbed them, came back, and knelt beside her. The steel jaws bit down on the chain, but the first squeeze barely scratched it. He tried again, gritting his teeth, using every ounce of strength. The link snapped with a metallic pop. Anna gasped, staring at her freed wrists like she couldn't believe it. Jacob helped her to her feet. She wobbled, clutching his arm for balance. "We need to get to my truck," he said. "You can rest there." They reached the barn door before she froze again. "He's here." Jacob stopped dead. Out in the yard, an engine rumbled to life, not his. Headlights flashed through the cracks in the wood, sweeping across the stalls. The horses snorted and stamped, panicked. A truck door slammed. Jacob turned off the barn light. Darkness swallowed them whole. "Back," he whispered. "Stay behind me." Footsteps crunched on the gravel outside. A man's voice, low and humming, drifted through the open door, a tune, lazy and familiar, like someone who had all the time in the world. Then came the metallic jingle of keys. Jacob's hand found the handle of a shovel leaning nearby. His palms were slick with sweat. Anna trembled beside him. The barn door creaked open, slow, deliberate. Bill Dalton stepped inside, his silhouette framed by the truck's headlights. He was a big man, broad-shouldered, with a beard gone mostly gray. His eyes adjusted to the dark, scanning the rows of stalls until they landed on Jacob. "Well," he said, smiling faintly. "Didn't expect company this late." Jacob didn't move. "Was just looking at the mare you mentioned." Bill's eyes flicked toward the tack room. "That's so. Find what you were looking for." The air tightened. Jacob could feel Anna's breath against his arm, shallow and quick. Bill's hand hovered near his belt, where a holster hung. Jacob's mind raced. He had two choices, bluff or fight. "I'll take the horse," he said finally, forcing a calm he didn't feel. "Cash in the truck." Bill studied him for a long moment, the silence stretching like wire. Then he nodded slowly. "All right, then. Let's have a look at your cash." Jacob took one careful step forward, then another. The old boards creaked beneath his boots. Bill shifted his weight, the faintest scrape of leather on leather. A warning, a draw about to happen. The wind outside picked up, rattling the tin roof. One of the horses kicked against its stall, the sudden sound shattering the tension. Jacob swung the shovel. It caught Bill's hand. Before he could pull his weapon, the metal ringing against bone. Bill cursed, stumbled back. Jacob grabbed on his arm. "Run." They bolted out the side door into the night. Gravel scattered beneath their boots as they sprinted toward Jacob's truck. The engine roared to life just as a shotgun blast tore through the air behind them, splintering the barn door. Anna ducked, screaming. Jacob slammed the accelerator, tires spitting dirt as they tore down the drive and onto the road. Only when the ranch lights disappeared in the rearview mirror did Jacob slow down. His hands shook on the wheel. Anna was crying softly beside him, but she wasn't chained anymore. She was free, at least for now. Jacob didn't know what he'd just stumbled into, but as he glanced in the mirror one last time, he saw the faint glow of headlights cresting the hill behind them. They weren't alone. The night swallowed the truck whole as Jacob and Anna sped down the dirt road, dust curling through the air behind them like smoke. The moon was rising slow over the hills, pale and watchful. Every few seconds Jacob glanced in the rearview mirror, expecting headlights to reappear, but the road stayed empty, silent except for the rattle of the engine and Anna's unsteady breathing. She sat curled in the passenger seat, blanket trembling in her hands. Her eyes darted between Jacob and the window, still caught somewhere between panic and disbelief. "You should have left me," she whispered finally. "He'll come after us." Jacob shook his head. "Not leaving anyone chained up in a barn. Don't care who he is." She said nothing, just stared ahead, lips pressed tight. The headlights cut through a stretch of open land, pale grass rolling under the wind. Jacob's mind raced. What he'd seen didn't make sense. Bill Dalton wasn't just some rancher with a bad temper. That lock, that chain, that look in Anna's eyes. There was something larger here, something that didn't belong in a quiet county town. He slowed near the crossroads and pulled onto the shoulder. "We're not going to my place," he said. "Too easy to find. I know someone, Sheriff Hayes. He'll listen." "No," Anna's voice cracked sharp. "You can't go to the sheriff." Jacob frowned. "You saying you did something wrong?" She shook her head violently. "No, I'm saying he's with them." The words hung there, heavy and cold. "Them?" Jacob asked. Anna looked down at her hands, the faint imprint of the chain still red around her wrists. "Bill isn't working alone. The ranch, it's not just horses. It's a front. They take people, women, sometimes men, travelers, drifters, no one the town notices missing. They keep them until they're sold or—" Her voice broke off. Jacob gripped the steering wheel tighter. The weight of her words settled in like thunder building behind clouds. He'd known Dalton for years, not close, but well enough to trade cattle, share coffee, talk about droughts and feed prices. None of it matched this. Before he could speak, a pair of headlights appeared far down the road, small but growing. Anna saw them first. "That's him," she breathed. Jacob didn't wait. He slammed the truck into gear, gravel spitting from the tires. The engine roared as they shot forward. The other vehicle followed, fast, closing the distance with every curve. They tore down the backroads, dust boiling behind them. Jacob's knuckles were white on the wheel. "Seatbelt," he barked. Anna fumbled with the strap, her hands still shaking. "There's a bridge ahead," Jacob muttered. "If we make it across, the road splits. Maybe we can lose him." The lights behind them grew brighter. A shot rang out. The rear window shattered, glass spraying across the seats. Anna screamed, ducking low. Jacob swerved, fighting the wheel as the truck fishtailed, then straightened. They reached the bridge, an old, wooden span over a narrow creek, and crossed at full speed. The boards groaned under the weight. On the far side, Jacob cut the lights and veered hard right down a dirt path that vanished between trees. He drove blind for 100 yards before stopping, engine idling. Silence. The pursuing truck slowed on the other side of the bridge, headlights sweeping the road like searchlights. Then, after a long minute, it roared off toward the highway. Jacob exhaled slowly. "We'll wait it out," he said. Anna nodded, hugging herself. In the dim dashboard light, Jacob could see the exhaustion on her face, not just from fear, but from something deeper, older. He turned off the engine. The only sound now was the chirp of crickets and the whisper of the creek below. "Tell me everything," he said softly. Anna hesitated, then began. She'd come to work on the ranch months ago, drawn by a job listing for stable help. It seemed normal at first, good pay, food, a place to stay. Then people started disappearing. A ranch hand one week, a drifter the next. At night she'd hear trucks arrive and leave again, heavy loads hidden under tarps. When she asked questions, Bill's smile turned cold. And then one morning she woke up chained in the tack room. "They said someone was coming to buy me next," she whispered. "I don't even know who." Jacob felt his stomach twist. "We're not letting that happen. You hear me?" She nodded weakly. They spent the next hour in silence, the dark pressing close. Jacob's mind raced through options. The sheriff might be dirty, but maybe the state police weren't. He needed proof, something undeniable. At dawn, he turned the truck back toward the ranch. Anna stared at him in disbelief. "You're going back?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "If what you're saying's true, there's more people there. We can't just drive away." She hesitated, then nodded. "Then we need to be smart." They planned as the morning light grew, voices low and urgent. Anna knew the layout, the main barn, the storage shed, the cellar where trucks loaded. She said there was a ledger in the office, something Bill guarded. Like treasure. By the time the sun was high, they were moving again, taking the long way around through backfields and dry creek beds. The ranch came into view just past noon, quiet under the wide blue sky. From a distance it looked peaceful, almost beautiful, a lie wrapped in sunlight. Jacob parked half a mile out. They approached on foot, keeping low among the scrub. The smell of hay and diesel hung in the air. A truck idled near the barn, its back doors open. Two men stood talking. One was Bill Dalton. Jacob's pulse quickened. They couldn't get close without being seen. "That office," he whispered. "Where?" Anna pointed to the far end of the barn, behind the feed room. They waited until the men moved toward the truck, then slipped inside through a side door. The barn was just as he'd left it, except the chain on the wall was gone. Jacob's stomach knotted. In the office, papers covered the desk. Anna went straight for the filing cabinet. "Here," she said, pulling out a black ledger. Inside were names, dates, amounts, and photographs. Jacob felt his throat tighten. Before he could react, the floor creaked behind them. "Well," a voice drawled, "I was wondering when you'd come back." Bill stood in the doorway, shotgun leveled. The other man blocked the exit. Jacob slowly raised his hands. "You don't have to do this." "Oh, I think I do," Bill said. "You stuck your nose where it don't belong." Anna stepped in front of Jacob. "You can't hide this forever. People will find out." Bill's smile was thin. "That's the thing about people out here, sweetheart. Nobody finds out unless I say they do." Then, from outside, an engine roared, loud and fast. Tires screeched. The walls trembled as another truck slammed to a stop. Voices shouted. Bill turned his head, confused. Jacob didn't hesitate. He lunged. The shotgun fired, pellets shredding the wall above them. Jacob tackled him hard, the gun skidding across the floor. Anna grabbed the ledger and ran. Jacob and Bill struggled, crashing into the desk. The ledger fell open, papers scattering. Jacob caught a glimpse of an official seal, the county sheriff's department. His blood ran cold. Anna had been right. Bill shoved him back, swinging wildly. But Jacob ducked and drove his fist into Bill's jaw. The man staggered, then went down. Outside, sirens wailed, not sheriff sirens, but state patrol. Somehow, Anna had triggered the emergency beacon on the truck's radio. Help was coming. Bill crawled toward the door, but Jacob stood over him. "It's over," he said quietly. Bill looked up, blood on his lip, eyes burning. "You don't even know what you started." Maybe he was right, but Jacob didn't care. Some things were worth starting, no matter the cost. Minutes later, troopers stormed the barn, weapons drawn. Dalton and his men were dragged out in cuffs, faces pale in the sunlight. Anna stood beside Jacob, shaking but standing tall. When the officers took the ledger, one of them nodded toward Jacob. "You just blew open something big, sir. Real big." Jacob looked out over the fields. The wind moved through the grass like a sigh. The ranch was quiet again, but not peaceful. Not yet. Anna turned to him. "You didn't have to come back." "Yeah," Jacob said, managing a faint smile. "Guess I did." The horizon stretched wide and endless. Somewhere out there, others like Anna might still be waiting. And Jacob Renner, a simple rancher who only came to buy a horse, had just become something else entirely.